Hello, guys. I'm Mike from Punch the Mike Podcast, and today I have three guests on. I have
Nima,
and
Navid,
and
Daniel.
and today we're gonna be talking about BJJ versus wrestling. For those who don't know, BJJ stands for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we're gonna be talking about that in MMA and seeing which one is the more dominant form of a mixed martial art. Since mixed martial arts has multiple forms like sambo,
Muay
Thai, wrestling, kickboxing, boxing, and a bunch of other crap. But take it away, Nima.
well, so in the most recent example we can think of, Fabricio Werdum uses jiu-jitsu to just absolutely dominate Gus. Even though it was come back from retirement, not motivated Gus, still, Werdum is like, he's always been up there with jiu-jitsu.
He's been an elite level jiu-jitsu practitioner for years.
And there's great examples of, jiu-jitsu outdoing wrestling, like Damian Maia when he strangled Askren. And
Yeah.
I was really happy to see that because he always got bullied by wrestlers.
Yeah, he got beat down by a lot of wrestlers. But it's different because Askren's way of wrestling is he holds you there and does light punches most of the time compared to somebody like Usman or Colby Covington who use their volume more than just holding you there.
No, yeah, Usman, he uses wrestling to hold you against the fence and stomp on your toes.
No, but that's only the Masvidal fight. But the other
Yeah.
fights, he would bring you down and do like light punches to your gut. Very light.
Like
punches to
Emil
your gut.
Meek. Oh, well, actually, in the Emil Meek fight, he just held him to the floor. He didn't really do much with it,
And Tyron, he hugged him for 25 minutes.
basically. Yeah, but Woodley was scared of going on the ground with Maya, which is another reason why I think that BJJ might be better than wrestling. But in my opinion, wrestling is the better martial art form. But you can argue that jiu-jitsu is because you scare wrestlers from bringing you to the floor.
At the same time, though, a dominant wrestler has nothing to worry about from a jiu-jitsu guy because they know where to place their head. And takedowns are a lot harder to telegraph when you're a wrestler than jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu guys only have single legs. It's very easy to see them coming.
But jiu-jitsu
Go
guys,
watch any Damian Maia fight. Tell me you don't see the takedown coming.
jiu-jitsu guys also have more ways of submitting you and finishing the fight.
Yeah, like against Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Chael Sonnen was beating him up on the floor for many rounds, but if you make one mistake on the floor against an elite level jiu-jitsu guy, they're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, or Clay Guida beating up Brian Ortega for like 14 minutes, then Ortega just caught him with a nasty guillotine. 10 seconds.
Yeah. Daniel, what's your thoughts?
Daniel, what do you think about Charles Oliveira and Lee?
I think he showed his dominant jiu-jitsu and he choked out Lee with the guillotine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And he beat a guy who was a dominant wrestler who even took down and mounted Tony Ferguson.
He's some of the best jiu-jitsu in the division.
Easily. He has the most finishes in submissions, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most submissions, and including guys such as Jared Gordon and David Tamer, just to name a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously Kevin Lee.
Really elite.
But then it comes down to wrestling, like being dominant in wrestling, like somebody like Colby Covington, who really dominated Maya. And Maya is probably the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the UFC. So it's hard to say that jiu-jitsu is really better than wrestling, you know?
I think the best argument that wrestling's better, you look at John Jones, greatest fighter of all time. You look at George St-Pierre, greatest fighter of all time. All these guys, wrestling bases. Khabib, all these guys are wrestling based. And especially Jones, he controls all his fights with his wrestling. Cormier, Gus, when he needs to, he takes it to the ground. He just
Dominic
bullies you.
Reyes.
Dominic Reyes,
Yeah.
He'll bully you and he'll use it to just take away your will to
Mobility.
stand up.
What
Yeah.
about Silva?
Anderson?
He never really wrestled, though.
He's not a wrestler. Just the argument that
He got triangle chokes every now and then.
Yeah, but he was a jiu-jitsu guy, but we're talking about wrestling versus jiu-jitsu.
and wrestling guys stay good for longer. GSP, Jones, these guys never went
And
downhill.
Silva is more of a kickboxer than a
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu
Anderson went
practitioner.
down pretty quick. He used the jiu-jitsu very well against Dan Henderson. I guess that's an argument for jiu-jitsu being better.
Yeah, because
Dan
Dan
Henderson's a
Henderson
good
is an
wrestler.
elite level wrestler.
But I think more wrestlers are elite than jiu-jitsu guys, and more wrestlers do better than MMA.
That's why
jiu-jitsu guys.
I think also if Tony were to be taken down on the floor by Khabib, I feel like he wouldn't be able to
No,
lock
he
something up. Because elite level wrestlers just stomp that grappling unless they make a mistake, which is rare for somebody like Khabib. You know?
Khabib getting his head stuck with Dustin, that gives me, I think Tony could catch him too.
Yeah, definitely, but that's on the feet.
But he
I don't
wasn't
think
in
about-
real risk
I
there
don't
because
know
he
about-
has backup. He was
Yeah.
standing up, so.
But for wrestling, you could have no experience in anything and just wrestling and still. Brock Lesnar didn't know how to throw a fucking punch, and he became heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
But just power, just dominating. Mir, who's a phenomenal jiu-jitsu guy, submitted Big Nog, and defended his title twice against Carlin.
Oh yeah, Mir was a very good submission guy, right?
Yeah.
One of the best. He beat Big Nog, first man to
And
submit it.
Lesnar annihilated Couture with his deadly hammer fists.
Yeah.
They actually hurt. Those actually hurt.
And Lesnar had the biggest hands in the UFC. Am I correct?
Carlin, I think.
Yeah.
No, Lesnar's
Yeah,
hand
but
is
the
way
sword-
bigger than
Yeah, but
Carlin.
they
No,
had
Carlin's. They said he hit like lunch boxes. Even Lesnar said so.
yeah, but they had to make a special glove for
For Lesnar's hands?
Lesnar. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Maybe.
insane.
I know Carlin's hands are huge. When he held a Pepsi can, it was like in his palm.
But also another example of wrestling beating jiu-jitsu is when Daniel Cormier fought Anderson Silva.
Short notice.
It was a short notice fight, but Daniel Cormier really he's an elite level wrestler, and he showed that jiu-jitsu, even from one of the GOATs, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and jiu-jitsu, like BJ Penn used his jiu-jitsu to beat Hughes, but then again, BJ Penn, look at his career now. Whereas Hughes was so good and only, like at the end of his career, he only lost twice, and it was to Penn by knockout, like a flash knockout, and then Koscheck.
Yeah,
So wrestlers stay good for longer.
yeah, wrestlers like George St-Pierre as well. When he fought Nick Diaz, he took him down, and Diaz couldn't do anything against him, even though Diaz is a black belt.
Yeah, third degree.
Third degree, wow.
Mm.
So it just goes to show if elite level wrestlers have the advantage in the grappling exchanges, well, obviously if they have the advantage, but elite level wrestlers going toe to toe with elite level grapplers or submission artists, it really goes to the wrestlers, because if you don't have that wrestling background as a jiu-jitsu artist, you're not going to get those submissions. So
Yeah, wrestling versus jiu-jitsu is almost like raw power versus like technicality.
yeah, because wrestling takes a lot of power, and like if you hold somebody to a floor, you have to have a lot of strength and energy for that. It's a tough business.
One of my favorite examples is RDA, pressure wrestling, Anthony Pettis.
Yes,
Wrestling beats jiu-jitsu.
but then RDA got pressure wrestled himself multiple fights, so there's that as well. But
That's because he's a small lightweight getting bullied by big welterweights.
Yeah.
That was his choice.
it was his choice. Kind of like Cerrone going up to welterweight. He was a good welterweight for a short time.
Oh, he was.
5 fights was it that he won?
Yeah, Oliveira, Cote, the movie video game knockout Story.
On Story.
I can't
And
believe
then
he's on a
Brown.
4-fight losing streak.
That's
And
insane to think that
What
he's on a
happened to
4
Dad
fight.
Cerrone, man?
He fought.
That's within a
Tony
year. If you
Ferguson.
guys remember, last year he had just come off the Iaquinta win.
Yeah, that's insane. to
Quinta,
think.
Mike Perry, and Hernandez.
Yeah, and I don't care what anyone says. Hernandez had way too much hype. Mike
Yeah.
Perry did too.
Yeah, Drew Dober beat.
Yeah, he KO'd him.
He
Second
KO'd
round.
Alexander Hernandez.
Drew Dober's, yes.
Hernandez.
So
he's
what's
good,
everyone's?
but-
I guess we can go around and see what everyone's like final verdict is.
I believe that jiu-jitsu is very useful, but a wrestler, an elite level wrestler versus an elite level jiu-jitsu fighter, it goes to a wrestler, I'd say 8 times out of 10. Because it's just, they know how to stop the submissions, they know how to be in more dominant positions, because jiu-jitsu fighters know how to fight off their back, but they don't really know how to defend against strikes, and like, jiu-jitsu fighters are used to just fighting off their back and not fighting hands. Like, they fight hands to defend submissions, but they're not used to getting punched in the face, not used to things like that. So at the end of the day, elite level wrestler, I think, just beats a submission artist. How about you, Nima?
Yeah, I would agree that 8 times out of 10 seems right. And not only that, jiu-jitsu guys, like you said, they're not really used to taking a punch, whereas wrestlers, although they don't get punched, they're used to getting like slammed, like suplexed on their heads. And the training these guys do, even as kids, like, Mikey did wrestling, Navi did wrestling, I did some wrestling. It's just vigorous, like crazy stuff. And yeah, jiu-jitsu is too, don't get me wrong, like you'll sweat like bullets. It's just not the same. It's just a different kind of workout.
Wrestling is one of the most grueling sports to be put through. Like, even MMA training is not as bad as wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling, like all these, like I said, all-time great fighters have a wrestling base, and they're just all tough people in general.
Yeah,
How about
exactly.
you, Navid? Oh, so I say wrestling's better than BJJ.
I guess I'd have to go with wrestling because although jiu-jitsu, like, they can get more submissions, it doesn't counter the wrestling, like the ground and pounds that wrestlers can do, guillotines and rear nakeds that they can get. It just like, it's almost like what's the word? An imbalance between the two martial arts.
I would also have to go with wrestling because you can just hold the guy down. And if you're good enough to not know where to put your head, I guess, then you can just hold him there.
Yeah, I agree. So, thank you for listening. I'm Michelangelo.
I'm Raphael.
Hippity hoppitous, my name is Optimus.
I'm Donatello. I don't know.
Thank you for listening, guys. Have a nice day.
Ow.